Welcome to Maple Morrow, the tranquil little town where nothing ever happens. Whether you were born here, moved here, or are just passing through, you'll find those who live in the Morrow will offer a hand in welcome. Just don't expect your private business to stay private. For those who live here, even if they won't admit it, pass the time by listening for the slightest whisper of gossip that might come down their street. Even while privately dreaming of the day they might leave. Dreaming that something might happen to them if they were to get away from this tranquil little town. But recently there have been whispers and murmurs breaking the still air of Maple Morrow. Shopkeepers and store owners wake to find broken windows, smashed fences, and ransacked cellars. Some claim to have seen dark figures fleeing into the night, but most handwave these stories as fictions dreamed up by bored children. After all, nothing so nefarious could be afoot in such a tranquil little town where nothing ever happens. Hello, and welcome to Performance Check, an all-new Dungeons & Dragons actual play podcast. My name is Ethan Mann, and I am your Dungeon Master. I have 4 wonderful people playing with me today, so let's go ahead and go around the table and introduce ourselves. Claudia, can you start us off? Who are you? How did you come to be playing Dungeons & Dragons on a podcast on a bright Saturday morning? Give us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Claudia Cromley. I am a newbie to the D&D game. I actually started with some of these lovely people back like 2 years ago when we were all working together, and I've been hooked ever since. So I'm very excited to be here today, and I'm excited to get this started.
Wonderful. Jimmy, let's go with you next.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Lancaster. I'll be playing CK373. I started playing D&D, I think when I was like 12, but I didn't seriously play until high school, where I was playing some Pathfinder with some friends, and then my brother, I took a break, and then my brother started playing with me my senior year of high school, his junior year of college, because he was just in the town over. So we played a lot, and then I've been hooked ever since.
Evan, let's jump over to you.
Hey, hi, hello. I am Evan Marshall. I will be playing Rudy Quickfoot. I have been playing D&D for what feels like, well, what has been years at this point. It started in high school with Pathfinder, funny enough, with a whole bunch of my friends from home. I still hang out with them, play with them all the time, but our DM had some other things going on and had to kind of step away for a little bit. And we all miss playing so much, the group of newbies that we were without a DM to guide us. So I reached out and I said, "Hey pal, can you show me the ropes?" So since then, I've DM'd multiple campaigns for my friends back home. I've played in multiple campaigns with people in this group and a whole ton of other mutuals that we've, all met along the way. And I am very excited to keep doing just that.
Wonderful. And last but certainly not least, Michael.
Hi, my name is Michael Salisky. I will be playing Felicity, and I started D&D around college. Like, I knew of D&D, but no one around me was interested, and so I tried to do like a couple campaigns. They just kept falling through. The first campaign I saw through to completion was the same one with Claudia, and I've not only since then been in multiple one-shots and campaigns, but also have tried my hand at DMing, mostly inspired from growing up playing video games, JRPGs, which I feel like blends a lot into my D&D playstyle. But I am excited to explore this world with these wonderful creative people.
Hey, Ethan Mann, how did you start playing Dungeons & Dragons?
Gee, thanks for asking, Jimmy. So I actually started playing. It's been about 3 years now. Yeah, 3 years now since I started playing, believe it or not, Jimmy, because Jimmy was actually my first dungeon master. I had kind of been quietly interested in learning how to play for quite a while, but never quite had the courage to really actually say, hey people, I want to play Dungeons and Dragons, someone teach me how to play.
And at this point we've been trying to do like a couple of small TTRPGs. Like we tried to do Mutants Masterminds, but that fell through because of timing. But
Exactly. So then the summer before our senior year of college, I got really into a couple of D&D podcasts and actual play shows, and that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back that got me to go back to college and actually say, hey, I want to play. Let's make it happen. So we did. We had a campaign that we played throughout that year at college that we saw to completion. I then played in that same campaign with Claudia, Evan, and Mikey when we were out on a contract together. And it's kind of taken off since. Started DMing in the fall of 2022. So I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary of being a DM. And yeah, it's just kind of pulled me down the rabbit hole ever since. So that is a little bit about me, a little bit about all of us. Does anybody have any other little fun facts they want to throw out to the listening audience before we jump into this new campaign?
Well, I mean, I can go ahead real quick. Just to give a little bit of context to everybody listening, this group that we have in front of us here, we have all known each other for a hot minute at this point. We've all been in a couple campaigns together. We've all done one-shots together. If it seems like we're friends in real life, it's because we are.
We are?
We are.
We are?
Believe it or not.
Wait.
Yeah. Just
Wait.
to give a little context.
Wait, we're
because
friends?
strangers.
Do you think that we're friends? Oh.
Jimmy,
Despite
we're
our
not
best
friends.
efforts.
I was talking about everybody else. We're not friends, Jimmy.
Oh, okay, good. Just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
All right, let's
Anyways.
go ahead and
Anyways.
on that note, let's go ahead and dive on into this new campaign. For real sticklers out there, before we jump in, we'll be playing 5th edition with some homebrew thrown in there because we all like to throw a bunch of weird wrinkles at each other as both players and me as the DM. So if there's anything like weird and unique that you go like, hey, I don't remember reading that in a core rule book, it's probably because we homebrewed it, and probably stuff like that will link in the show notes of the podcast.
It's not that serious, John at home.
God, not John again.
Come
That's
on,
my
Joe.
little brother's name. If my little brother
John.
watches, he'll be felt so attacked. And he
Not
doesn't
that
even
deep,
play
though.
D&D. He doesn't even play D&D. He'll be like, why am I the rules lawyer?
Shut up, John.
We're gonna have fun.
We enter now into the tranquil little town of Maple Morrow. Wind rustles the dry leaves of the surrounding forests. At the foot of a dramatic chain of mountains, a deep blue river rushes over a waterfall, kicking up spray at its base and casting beautiful rays of dancing morning sunlight across the water. Wooden buildings line winding, cobbled streets still wet with dew, and in the oldest part of town, merchants begin opening their stalls in preparation for another day. The rushing water at the base of the falls calms as it flows downstream, passing under a sturdy stone bridge that connects the tranquil little town with a majestic castle, its dark red spires protruding over the tops of the forest trees, giving the impression of dark spikes emerging from a bed of fire. The water comes to a gentle trickle as it reaches the eastern part of town. Here, the streets are nearly hidden beneath the darker earth, and the buildings are older and more run down. The silence here is so thick it almost seems as if the town is holding its breath until the veil of quiet is suddenly split with the ringing of a bell. We find ourselves in front of the largest building in this part of town, though that's not really saying very much. A fire from the night before still smolders out front next to a rickety old well, and we zoom in through a window on the second story of the home down the river for misplaced children. Michael, would you please introduce us to your character?
All right. I would say you would see a young girl about probably 14, 15, who gets up. She's got kind of a short, bobbed, blonde hair, very eager, excited eyes, and she throws on her detective cap and also has this huge scarf around her, grabs her bag, and she is already bustling and ready to go. Felicity is a young girl trying to best find her way. And is this alarm Felicity's alarm to wake up, or is this an alarm just out in the world?
This is an alarm bell to rouse the whole home for misplaced children.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Felicity leaps out of bed. As she does so, she looks around, just kind of gets a bearing to see who else is awake yet.
As you sort of scan around your bedroom, you see there are about 5 or 6 other beds in this room with other girls about your age that are all slowly sort of pulling themselves out of bed, rubbing the sleep out of their eyes. Everybody still seems very, very groggy. And as you scan and start to gather yourself up, you hear a stern but a friendly voice trill through a hole in the wall that forms what seems to be a makeshift PA system. Right, everyone, rise and shine. Breakfast in 15 minutes. That's 1-5. We're eating in the kitchen. I expect everybody there today. Once again, 1-5. Everybody in the kitchen.
Felicity will kind of give a stretch, and I will look around, and is Herky around?
Absolutely. As you start sort of getting ready, Herky skitters out from underneath the bed.
It's a little weasel who skitters out, and Felicity kind of gestures to him, all right, Herky, early to rise, early to breakfast. There's lots to investigate today. And she kind of taps her shoulder for him to run on up and ride along.
Herky climbs right up onto your shoulder, giving little early morning weasel chirps as he does so, and sort of gives you this look over to the side, saying all right, let's get going.
And she bolts from upstairs and rushes to the kitchen, going to eat as quickly as she can because she's got a lot of ground to cover.
Brilliant. As you descend the stairs down to the first floor, there seems to be lots of sleepy hustle and bustle. Everyone is throwing themselves together, getting ready for the day, rubbing the sleep out of their eyes. And when you reach the bottom floor, you immediately catch the delicious aroma of freshly baked bread coming through the door to the kitchen. And as you enter, you see 3 long tables set out with a scattering of slightly tarnished silverware. There are 2 large bowls sitting empty at each table, and then smaller bowls with cut-up fruits strewn about wherever they can fit in the space that's left on the table. And as you scan across the room, a couple of girls, maybe a year or 2 older than you, bump into you and give you a watch it clueless as they laugh amongst themselves and run off to claim their spots at one of the tables.
Felicity kind of shrugs it off, and is there someone who is helping set up or cook or basically is there anyone that's in charge of getting the breakfast ready for everyone?
At this point, it looks like everything is basically set out for you, except for those big empty bowls. There doesn't seem to be anybody who is getting anything ready. You do notice that there are some pans with bread in the large oven, and there is a fire going in the fireplace.
All right, Felicity will probably just make it to her usual spot. If there's one thing that she picked up very quickly being at the orphanage was that there is a routine and everyone has a spot to be in, and so she heads to hers. And she sits down, and as she does, she pulls out this little, like, flip notebook and a quill and immediately starts taking notes, basically planning her route for the day.
As you sit down and start sketching out these notes, the rest of the orphanage starts to file in. There is a huge span of disparity between the ages of these children. You see humans, you see a couple elves, you see a gnome here and there. It's really a smattering of different types of people, ranging all the way from like toddler up to about 14 or 15 would be the oldest that you see at this moment in human years. And they all kind of give you like some side eyes as you're sketching out this notebook. They definitely know what you're up to, given the fact that you've sort of built a reputation for yourself in the orphanage as the aspiring private eye that you are. And everybody kind of skirts around you and takes spaces at the same table as you, but giving you some space as you continue to sketch out in your notebook. And as everybody is coming in, the back door swings open and a gray-furred tabaxi woman with bright blue eyes comes through. This cat-like woman named Lolador dumps an armful of firewood into the fireplace and scoops up a cauldron that has been hanging over the flames. Right, everyone, watch yourself. Coming through, very hot. And she comes by through all of the tables and starts to ladle porridge into each of the empty large bowls on the table and drops a serving spoon into them once she has filled them.
Felicity would immediately grab the serving spoon, pour it into her bowl, and then immediately start eating. She does not have time to wait for that to cool.
Brilliant. Do you throw like any like granola or fruit or anything like that in, or is she just going straight into the raw porridge?
So what I imagine is she sat down, she starts sketching. The minute that food is actually served, she pours a bowl, grabs a handful of fruit, puts it in her mouth, grabs her spoon, scoops up porridge, puts that in her mouth, kind of mixes them in her mouth, because mixing them would take time, and she does not have time.
Incredible. Roll me a Constitution saving throw against burning your mouth here against this porridge. First roll of the game. Let's go.
A 17.
Brilliant. You have sort of like worked out a system at this point to avoid the burning of your mouth when you were shoveling in this porridge. This is not your first rodeo trying to get through here quickly. So you like know all of the systems of like wave it off a little bit first, blow on it once or twice, stick it in your mouth, make sure that it doesn't like sit in your mouth too long so that it doesn't like have anywhere to burn before quickly swallowing it. Mm-hmm. You devour this porridge, and as you are scraping the dregs out of the bottom of your bowl, you see a familiar silhouette enter through the front door of the orphanage and begin to make for the stairs up to the second floor.
Can I look closer to see who that is, or would I know at this point who the only person who would be coming in during breakfast would be?
You would definitely know who this is, because this is about when she would come in every day.
Felicity would turn, aggressively wave towards the stairs, and after kind of go, and swallow, and go, "It's like you're missing breakfast. Don't worry, I saved you some porridge."
You see she kind of like looks at you, looks at the stairs, looks at you, gives an almost imperceptible little sigh, and then steps into the kitchen and sets her pickaxe and pack down at the door into the kitchen before coming over and sitting down next to you. Isla is a girl of just shy of 18 by about a month. She is wearing a like maroon heavy working shirt and a leather almost like protective like shoulder cloak kind of thing. And she sits down and you see like her shoulders like almost immediately slouch in when she sits down because she is tired. But you called her over, so she is going to sit down and serves herself a small bowl of porridge next to you.
Felicity will finish off her meal, and you'll see her pause for a second to grab some of the fruit to feed Herky, which is the only time she kind of slows down for a second to make sure that Herky eats. And then, without skipping a beat, goes, "They're working you late again."
You see, Isla kind of shrugs with her mouth full of porridge and says, "I'll take the hours though, so it's fine. I'll be fine."
Insight check. She's lying, right?
Roll me an insight check.
Okay. An 18.
So you. Isla has told you that she has basically been hired onto an excavation job north of the city. She hasn't given you specifics, but you've been able to put together that it's pretty heavy manual labor. And it is very clear that she's very tired.
Felicity would kind of nod, being used to the shortness at this point, and push some of the... not even thinking, grab what would be Isla's favorite fruit and just plop it into her porridge bowl. And as she does so, she says, "All right, well, don't leave too early because I need to come back. And once I'm back tonight, I'll tell you everything I found out during the day."
She sort of nods through this mouthful of porridge. "Thanks. Just be safe out there, okay?"
"You don't need to worry about me. I'm a professional." And she reaches into her knapsack, which definitely like the rest of her clothes, you could tell, is a little bit patched together, a little bit not fitting. The bag is way too big for her. And she pulls out a magnifying glass. She's like, "See, I'm a professional."
You see the corners of Isla's mouth twitch up just a little bit in the ghost of a smile. And she just kind of nods and says, I know. But hey, on my way back in, I passed the dwarf that runs the forge out here. Elmonius, I think his name is. He seemed kind of grumpy, was muttering something about waiting for the CKs. Might be worth looking into."
You see her eyes widen, and she immediately starts scribbling that down, and then looks up and for Lolador to see if the bread is anywhere near coming out, or if she's just going to have to skip bread today.
As you look up, you see Lolador stick one of those big wooden paddle looking things into this massive oven and pulls out these steaming dark brown whole grain baguettes.
Beautiful. She'll be sitting there. She's like, "All right, come on. I got to get there before everyone else does."
As you're sort of sitting there impatiently tapping on the table, Lolador sort of almost seems to take her time as she starts cutting up the bread, putting it on serving plates. Looks like she's about ready to start passing those around.
You will see Felicity will jump up and run over and be like, "Hi, Miss Lola, I'll take those," and grab the plates and run to give them to tables because she doesn't have time to wait for her to get to every table on her own.
Brilliant. Roll me just a dexterity check here.
Dexterity check. A 6.
Brilliant. You grab these plates and almost sort of in the way that Snoopy distributes all of the food during the Thanksgiving feast in that episode, you just sort of start yucking these plates of bread around the table, and they clatter. Some pieces sort of fall off onto the table as they fall sort of roughly onto the table, but you do manage to keep it all from getting on the floor.
Hey, the table's clean, the floor is not. After doing that, she will grab a piece of bread, put it in her, break off some to feed to Herky, put it in her bag, and immediately charge out the door going, "Bye, Miss Ola, I'll see you tonight."
Right, now be safe out there, kid. And as Felicity takes off down the streets of the eastern side of town, otherwise known as down the river, she passes a rundown building that looks as if it has recently been brought back to life. Small holes around the windows mark where boards were once nailed, though have now been taken down, and a small open-closed sign hangs on the front door. A white-haired half-elf man stands in front of this door, his fist raised, and as this visitor bangs on the door, Claudia, would you please describe your character for us?
Yeah, so you will probably see Lysander kind of like in his cot. He is pretty short in stature. He's kind of probably underneath the blankets at this point, and then hearing the banging on the door, he'll just kind of groan and like pull the blankets off of himself and just kind of, oh my god. And he gets off of the cot, and he is wearing kind of what he typically wears. He has kind of like a half corset and then a big gigantic sweater over top that kind of falls off his body a little bit, with purple pants and patches kind of like sewn in, and he kind of like uses the blanket as like a cloak of some kind and just kind of like huddles underneath it, and then goes to the door, just kind of muttering, and opens it up.
Brilliant. As you open the door, this half-elf man, his fist still raised, looks you square in the face, pajamas still on, blanket cloak wrapped tightly around you. Are you open?
He like gives the biggest sigh, and he goes, yes, welcome, come on in, take a look around, just don't break anything. And he kind of like puts himself back in, and he sits down on a stool and just kind of watches as this man kind of rummages around the shop.
The moment that you say don't break anything, he goes to a shelf and starts picking things up.
Hey, careful. I worked really hard on those. Is he like just kind of like I'm imagining like almost like things kind of like jittering, and he uses mage hand and like goes up and fixes things, so he keeps his hands on his blanket cloak.
Incredible. This half-elf man starts like, he goes straight for a pocket watch that he sees on one of the shelves and starts to almost kind of like try and force it open, but it doesn't seem like it wants to go. And he kind of like looks at you and back at the watch and goes, I think your stuff's broken.
It's not broken, it's not, and he'll mage hand over and like try to get the pocket watch from him, if he allows it.
You mage hand over and swipe this pocket watch out of his hand and put it back on the shelf. And he mutters, "There's no way to run a business." And he like continues to shuffle around and is like poking around at things, like opening scrolls. It almost looks like he's about to start reading them before like rolling them back up and putting them back down. Clearly not in the same spot that he picked them up from.
Lysander is just like moaning and groaning and like banging his head against the wall, not hiding at all that he is annoyed in the slightest. And he kind of like goes up behind this man and just goes, are you interested in anything, or are you just looking? Because I really, it is way too early for this.
Do you have anything that'll turn the pages of my book for me?
Lysander will look at him and go, use your fingers. And he is going to, he's going to like thaumaturgy and just say, have a nice day, come back again, and kind of like push him out the door.
Incredible. You push him out the door and swing it shut behind him. And what does Lysander do as he is getting his day started?
Lysander is definitely just kind of like stretching underneath the blanket cloak. He goes over back to his cot, and you can see this cot is very like ramshackle. He doesn't have like a ton of like personality to his space besides the things in his shop. When you look around the shop, you can see little odds and ends, things that he's kind of tinkered with, things that he's like created, almost like art sculptures. And by his cot, he has like a little thing with like a almost like a coffee pot. And he kind of snaps his fingers, and the mage hand goes over and pours him a cup of coffee as he kind of just sits and stews in with his plain black coffee early in the morning.
Go ahead and roll me a perception check.
Okay. All right, that's a 15.
As you hunker down with this black cup of coffee and are able like to really take in your shop now that you're not immediately being bombarded with interaction, you notice that there are things that do not seem like they are where you left them, and there is a slight draft coming from one of the walls.
He definitely, his ears kind of twitch a little bit, and he sets his coffee down and goes over and starts putting things back to where they're supposed to be, and then he goes over to this draft, and he's going to investigate.
Cool. Roll me an investigation check.
Oh my goodness, the nat 20. Holy crap, I did not need it on this.
Let's go.
Really nat 20 on an investigation check. I mean, it's a good thing. I just would rather it in combat, silly. Nat 20 plus 3 for a 23.
You immediately suss out where this draft is coming from and follow it to one of the walls where you have shelves lined. And you sort of shuffle things around on the shelves and work your way back to the point where you can actually see the wall. And you find a number of holes in the wall that are about 3 or 4 inches in diameter that seem to be the source of this draft. And as you, still wrapped in this blanket like a cloak, are bent over with your head in the shelf, you hear the tinkle of a bell at the front of the store. Indicates that another person has just entered.
I feel like he would kind of get surprised a little bit and like bang his head up on whatever's above him, like ow, ow, and turn around to see who has entered.
As you turn around, rubbing the goose egg that's forming at the top of your head, you see that in has walked a very slender elf with white blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. As Vamir steps into your shop and does a quick look around, it seems to you as if his pointed chin is almost ever so slightly turned up at what he sees.
I definitely would know Vamir, right? I've had a run-in with him before.
Absolutely, yeah. The day that you moved into this building in Maple Morrow, he came to visit.
So Lysander is going to quickly put things back to cover the holes in the wall and turn around and just be like, Vamir?
It's good to see that you remember me. I'm glad to see you at least can keep a sharp memory. I am here on behalf of the Mayor's Council, and as it seems you are not leaving, there's some paperwork that will need to be attended to. and he starts ruffling around in a bag, and he pulls out a scroll from the bag at his waist, and he begins to unfurl it.
What kind of... I mean, no one has been using this building for years. What kind of paperwork is this even?
Used or not, nonetheless, affairs must be in order. Aha, here. Lysander, so sorry, what was your last name again?
Lysander, with the question of being asked his last name, is going to kind of, stiffen a little bit and, cock his head, and he's just gonna say, Rivammer.
I see. And he produces a very large and poofy quill. It scratches out Lysander sure. Now, let's see. Right, opening a shop and down the river. Now I will need a breakdown and itemization of your inventory. I am sure that you have that handy.
Lysander is going to, look around and just be like, just look on the shelves. It's all there.
You see he, slowly lowers the pen to this scroll that he's, now got, propped against one of your shelves. Will provide at City Hall. All right, now, let's see. In accordance with the DTR stimulus effort, there will be no startup fee. Rent due will be waived for your establishment. Now, the Mayor's Council will, however, collect 12% of your gross profits on your income tax.
So quick question.
Now, if you would...
What about if I don't have profits?
You see he just slowly turns his eyes away from the scroll to look at you and just kind of glances around the shop. The mayor feels it prudent that this be the only fee applied to shops in down the river in an attempt to stimulate entrepreneurship here. So, if no profits, it will simply be to the detriment of your business. I'm sure the city's coffers will not miss too much from whatever you bring in.
Great, cool. And he mage hands and fixes more items as he holds his blanket cloak and is just yeah, awesome, okay, cool, awesome, cool.
You totally see that he just blatantly rolls his eyes as you just clearly do not understand good business down here in this side of town. Very good, and those last things in place. Now, if you would kindly just sign here, please. And he finds a clear space to roll out the parchment on one of your shelves and presents you with this large and poofy quill.
Lysander is going to think about it for a second, and then mage hand grab the quill and just make a big X in the signature spot, and then hand it back.
Very well, I suppose that shall do. That is all that I need from you this morning, Lysander. I thank you, and we'll see you within 3 days' time at City Hall to present that itemized breakdown of your inventory. I thank you. And you hear the tinkle of the bell again as he exits the shop.
Yeah. All right. And he kind of looks to make sure he's actually leaving. And then will quickly kind of take his blanket off and then put his actual cloak on. just kind of muttering to himself, and then stretch out his back as he looks at his latest invention and kind of pokes at it for a little bit.
Brilliant. You start tinkering away with your things, and as Vamir leaves his audience with Lysander, his path takes him past a long building with a wooden roof. Above the door, bold letters declare this building to be the Maple Morrow Training Lodge. A sign affixed to the front of the building reads, "Train with the best, 100 gold." But then a line of paint has struck that out, and underneath it's written, 50 gold. And then again struck out, and again, all the way down to 1 gold for an hour session. As we zoom into the training lodge, Evan, can you please introduce us to your character?
Yeah, so as the coming through the door of the training lodge, you'll enter into what appears to be a little reception area. The dust motes kind of float around the area, past the empty chairs and barren wasteland that is this area, and you turn over and you would see a small table or makeshift desk with 2 chairs. One very large chair that sits empty, and then a slightly smaller chair where you would see a Harengon with this brown fur, like a rabbit person with like this brown fur, lays head down towards his chest, feet resting up on this desk. He is wearing this red garb with like a brown shoulder pad. He's got all these ornate like gold and yellow sashes that kind of cover his body, and he has a darker patch that kind of goes over one of his eyes, and he lays there kind of just snoozing away.
Incredible. As you are snoozing away, a small-ish human boy of maybe 12 or 13 comes running up to you. He is sweating and flushed, but clearly very excited. He starts pulling on the sleeve of your tunic. Instructor Quickfoot, I think I have the forms down. Can we practice now?
Yeah, the forms. We were gonna do the forms. Let's go. Which one? Which one was that again?
We were working on the sidestep right hook.
Oh, yes, yeah, the sidestep. Yeah, show me. How have you been just practicing by yourself? You know, just reflecting, working, mastering the ways. You've done all that?
Yeah, of course. Just like you told me to.
Ah, fantastic. All right, show me what you got.
So you follow young Philip out to the training area, and you see he starts working his way through a martial arts form, very clearly like going from one move to the next, to hit the pose, to block here. He's got all of the movements right, but it is very like stiff. It's like hit and then move. And then as he finishes up this form, he like looks at you expectantly.
You're gonna see a small grin kind of grow across Rudy's face. You've definitely been practicing. I can tell that for sure. So your next step is, remember, combat, defense, battle. It's a performance. This is a show. So when you punch and you go into your block, you're going to twist your shoulders. You're not going from position to position to position. You're transitioning to the next act. So watch, and Rudy's going to kind of just repeat the pose back, but you know, it's, as the instructor, it looks a bit more natural. It flows from spot to spot. And now you see, when I go for the punch, the entire body moves before the shoulders come back down, and he just kind of just repeats the pose back, just a little more natural.
Can you roll me a dexterity check with advantage, please?
Oh, we're good at those, baby. You're asking the monk for dexterity? Let's go. That's an 18.
As you are like moving through these poses with like a fluidity and grace of someone who has well trained for this kind of thing for years. You see like something click in young Philip's head, and he starts to repeat these back, and you see that he has like smoothed out his movements, and so he is starting, rather than like hitting one pose and then the next, is starting to move through the form as like one fluid piece, and then looks at you and is like, is that a little closer to what you're thinking?
You are on the right track. You are doing fantastic. Do you know that? You've shown so much progress. You've just started. You haven't been here that long. And you're doing so fantastic. I am so proud of you.
You see he just absolutely beams as you say that. And sort of glances at a timepiece that's up on the wall. And he says, I think my dad's going to come get me soon. Would you spar with me just for a couple of minutes to wrap up before I have to go?
Of course, yeah, sure thing. Let's go right ahead. And I'll kind of lead him on over to the sparring area, hand on back, kind of ushering him over past these old wooden bleachers where, again, people probably haven't sat there for quite a bit. They'd make their way through these wrestling style to like this through like this wrestling style like fence, like the elastic, but it kind of seems to crack as they make their way through. It's not really as elastic as it used to be. And Rudy's gonna kind of let Philip do his thing, kind of just playing defensively, critique and form as they spar.
Incredible. Can you give me another dexterity check, please?
Oh, please don't let me get beaten up by the kid. That's a 10.
As you begin to move, you very clearly are still leading the sparring, but you start to feel like some of the stiffness in your neck from this awkward position that you were sleeping in creep in, and you are not moving quite as fluidly. He doesn't like land a hit on you or anything like that, but he's keeping pace with you at least. Go ahead and make me another one.
All right. That's a 9.
As you like are distracted with this like knot in your neck, you see Philip almost looks like he starts focusing on the fact that you look like you've got something going on with your neck as you're trying to like roll it out and stretch it like while sparring, and his distraction causes him to be off his footwork and he falls.
I guess I'd kind of just put the pads down and make my way over. Hey, we all fall down sometimes. It's how you get back up. And Rudy's gonna stick a hand out to lift him back up.
He takes your hand and you pull him back up, and he does like almost like a little hop as he's coming up. I guess I don't quite get how these forms that we're practicing are supposed to help with sparring just yet.
Practicing form is essential to learning your movesets. This is like learning how to dance. That's what your form is for. You perfect the moves, and you spar to put them into practice. Doing your forms is reading your lines. Sparring is starting the show.
You see he's like trying to turn that over in his head as he's sort of like nodding, but clearly he's not like quite getting it yet.
We'll get there. That's why we're here. That's why we practice. Come on. And he'll hop back into that defensive pose.
Roll me one more dexterity check, please.
Please. Okay, 19.
As you've hopped back into this pose, you start to sort of guide him through this sparring bout by almost doing like the inverse of the form that he was previously doing, where his form would have him punch, you would block. Where his form would have him block, you would punch. And you guide him through this form that he was just practicing in this more like structured sparring bout, but in still a very practical way. And as you're walking him through that, you get about 3/4 of the way through, and you see something click, and he like fully stops, and he goes, "That was the form that we were just doing."
That was the form. That was that. That's it. That was the form. Does that make more sense?
I think so. I think so. Thank you, Instructor Quickfoot. And as you were finishing this sparring session, the door opens, and a large man with the same light brown hair and eyes as the boy you've been sparring with walks in. He's wearing a dark blue tailcoat that is accented with a dark black velvet lapel. And on this lapel is a polished brass pin depicting 2 intertwined M's, the symbol for Maple Morrow. This man is Osin Sendar, the mayor of the city, and his bushy mustache seems to quiver when he speaks. Right then, now, where's my son? Right there, Philip, been giving old Quickfoot a run for his money, have you? That's a good lad. Go on now and wait outside while I settle up with the good man. You see Philip scuttles outside while Osin turns to you, Rudy. Now then, tell me truly, how did you do?
Young Philip has quite a ways to go, but today specifically, he has shown fantastic growth. He's finally connecting what it means to integrate the performance into combat. He is smooth, he is quick, and he is applying everything he has learned into his practice.
Well, good. That's what we want to hear. Very good. I'm very glad to hear that. Now, what is it I owe you? 1 gold, isn't it? You're a good one, Rudy Quickfoot, and I don't just say that. And he pulls out a gold piece from inside of his coat and hands it to you.
Coming from you, that means quite a lot, Mayor. And he'll flip it, just like, with his thumb, just kind of flip it up and drop it down into a pocket. Same time next week? Coming back?
Absolutely, we'll be back.
Fantastic.
And as you take this gold and open the lockbox that you keep the gold at the registration desk in, you find that it is empty, and there is a hole at the bottom, about the same size as 1 gold piece.
He's gonna flip it upside down, kind of look, see if something fell through the table or something, see if there's another hole.
Brilliant. Roll me an investigation check.
Please, oh, that's good. Hold on. Investigation 19.
You sort of flip this upside down. Are you sort of ducking underneath the desk to do this?
Yeah. He'll lift up the lockbox, take a quick look on the underside, and then kind of crawl under the desk.
Brilliant. As the mayor is standing there in front of you, you disappear underneath this desk for a moment, and you find that there is another hole about the same size on the shelf where this box typically sits, and then just to the right of it, against the exterior wall, there seems to be another hole, the same size, leading outside.
Excuse me, I've misplaced something. I'll leave you to it. Busy man, important things to do, important man. I'll see you next week, and I'll shake his hand. And then Rudy is immediately going to try his best to just follow hole after hole after hole.
Incredible. As you're sort of gently dismissing the mayor here, he says, "Right you are. Thank you very much. Again, we appreciate you, and we will see you next week." And he heads out. Are you going to try and stay inside to keep investigating? Or are you going outside to where this, to the other side of this hole? Walk me through what you're thinking here.
Rudy is definitely panicking a little bit. He's sweating underneath that fur. Dude lost all of 3 gold, so he is immediately going to go out to the other side and see if he can find it outside. I kind of need that. It's kind of all of my money. And he's just going to kind of just mutter to himself as he makes his way outside.
Brilliant. Roll me another investigation check, please.
10.
As you go outside, you do not find any gold, but you do find what almost look like small tracks, as if somebody has taken 2 sticks, stuck them into the mud, and then drug them along the dirt.
Rudy has absolutely nothing better to do right now, so he is just abandoning the dojo and following these tracks.
Brilliant. Roll me one more investigation check, please.
Come on, baby. 14.
With a 14, you are able to follow these tracks until they end with you bumping your head against the wall of another building. And as you look up, you see another hole of about the same size, maybe about 3 feet up on this hole.
I'm gonna... Do I know what building this is? Do I recognize this building?
This building has been abandoned for quite a while. As you sort of like take your surroundings in, you look around, realize that this has been a building that has been sitting empty for quite a while. But you do spot that there is a window that you thought was previously boarded up that now seems to be standing open.
Before I'm looking through that window, you said this like hole is like 3 feet above me?
Not above you, 3 feet off the ground.
Okay, then I'm gonna crouch down real low, like down on one knee, and take a quick peek through the hole first. Just like shove my eye in there, see if I can take a little scan around, Mr. Krabs style.
As you poke your head through, your vision is mostly obscured by what seems to be random junk on a shelf. And there seems to be a figure inside of this building with their back to you, working at a desk on something.
Okay, I'll take a quick peek through the window.
As you peek through this window, it appears that this is basically like a junk shop or a pawn shop, and there is a small figure working at that desk. And every once in a while, you see like small magical poofs appearing from whatever is being worked on at the desk.
Okay. I could just go inside and talk to the man, but I am sneaking through this window. I am 100% opening this window and crawling inside.
Brilliant. Roll me a stealth check to open this window and crawl through.
9.
You cannot roll with Rudy to save your life.
Please.
Every single time.
Dude, context here. I've played this character like twice, and he has never been good. He's never rolled well.
No.
He's so cool, but he never rolls well.
Evan, I love you to death. That's just you,
You haven't
bud.
rolled above 5 yet?
There's a common element there.
Dude, I have a +5.
Oh,
Okay.
Rudy.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, the 14.
That was a 9.
There was a 14. There was a 19 in there. Lysander, as you were working at your desk, you hear the creak.
Lysander is gonna his ears twitch as
window
he
being
listens
pushed
to this
open.
window creak open. And he's just like, I don't have time
it
to
took a lot
deal
longer
with
than I
this
thought it
man.
would.
But he's sitting there and he's like, I'm just gonna let this happen and see what happens. And he twiddles his fingers as he listens to the window being open and just completely lets it happen.
Incredible. Rudy, you've got an open window.
Okay, I'm keeping close tabs on this person too. So I am also going to insight check to see if I think they heard me.
Brilliant. Roll me an insight check.
That's an 8.
They have not turned. It does not look like they have noticed you.
Dude, Lysander will actually hear from outside. Whew, nice one, Rudy. And he is going to step a foot. He is going to step a foot into this building and attempt to crawl in.
Incredible. roll me just a dexterity check.
Come on, man. I'm a monk.
Or you know what? Make it acrobatics.
That's a 13.
As you start to like creep in, you don't like step on anything or break anything like that, but there's definitely some heavy things that you've got to push out of the way that like scrape against this these wooden shelves as you are moving things out of the way, as you were like crawling in through this window.
I entirely forgot to mention that Rudy has a bow staff, and it's pretty much just affixed to his back. So I also like to think it just got caught on a few things on the way in. Like as he stepped through, it was like stuck outside. Like the square in the circle hole didn't quite fit. Had to readjust. There we go. All right, now we're in.
Lysander is he's gonna like be like, all right, enough's enough, and he's gonna like get up, but his back is still, like, he's keeping his back still turned, and he's just gonna loudly be like, all right, time for my dastardly evil plan. And he's going to open, like, a random book and be like, I can't wait to do dastardly evil things today. And then turn around and be like, ah! No! You didn't hear any of that! Slam the book shut, and then just kind of, like, turn and look at Rudy.
Fuck, dude. Rudy is dumb. Rudy is real dumb. I'm insight checking that.
Go for it.
15. I'm gonna do dastardly evil things.
Claudia, with a 15, what's the vibe that Rudy is getting on Lysander here?
Lysander is like smirking, and he's like, oh, I'm so scared about this person who crawled in, but he's definitely giving sarcasm times 100.
Okay, the jig is up. Rudy is diving behind the nearest shelf. It's not going to be stealthy. He's just trying to cover himself. Like, things are going to get knocked over. I know. I'm jumping and hiding into something. If I can't fit behind a shelf, I will just sit on a shelf and try to blend in, man.
How tall is Rudy?
Rudy's like 6'2".
Yeah,
with ears, probably.
Sorry, with ears.
With ears, he's probably 6'5". Those are some short ears. Anyways, we roll it. What is this, Ethan? To dive into a shelf.
Make me a stealth check with disadvantage.
Oh,
with
man.
Ethan, you don't mean that. No!
I do. I so do.
That's a... You know, that would be a 6, but it was also the first nat 1 of the podcast, guys.
Oh, we
Let's
had
go.
nat 1 in our first one.
But don't you have a certain feat that
Nope,
can help
not
with
using
that?
that here. I am taking it.
Oh. Okay. Never mind.
Lysander, you see this with ears. Oh my god, my pen just went flying across the room. With ears, you see this 6'5" rabbit, bipedal rabbit, dive behind one of your shelves. Ears still like clearly sticking up, and then he like turns and makes eye contact with you through the shelves.
Does like if things were knocked out of place or like falling, I would imagine that Lysander would like be like and like mage hand and quickly fix or like try to catch whatever's falling from the shelf, and just be like, dude, what are you doing in here?
You see Rudy's paw extends, and he also catches like a falling trinket from like outside of the shelves. I just investigating, detective stuff. Where's my money?
Your money? I don't have
You
your
clearly
money.
took it.
And Lysander's gonna kind of like
followed your little
laugh.
mouse trail.
Lysander will like laugh, and just be like, "Does it look like I have money, dude?"
Well, I mean, you have a cool. What is this? Like a pocket watch? It's pretty cool.
Lysander
And he
will
says,
like
still holding the object he caught.
Lysander will like mage hand and like take it out of his hand and be like, like, what makes you think I have money? Like, Like, that is a bold accusation.
I'm not saying you have money, but you have my money.
Look, if you're
I followed your
panhandling,
little
or
mouse
if you're,
troll.
if you're doing donations to some charity, or if you're panhandling, I'm not interested. I have what I need, and...
Panhandle? Do you know who I am?
Lysander, like, looks around and be like, yes, I've been here all my life. Of course I know who you are.
And you think I, the gladiator, the performer, the battle master that I am, Rudy Quickfoot, he stands up behind the shelf and, like, practically knocks it over. You think that I would panhandle? That's embarrassing.
Yes, Rudy. All right. I mean, of course, I know times are tough everywhere, but seriously, if you're not going to look around, or if you have some other bold accusation to make with no sort of proof, then you need to go somewhere else.
As Lysander is talking, Rudy is no longer paying attention. He is looking for the next mouse hole.
Brilliant. Roll me an investigation check.
Does Lysander notice that he's, like, looking for something actively now?
I mean, I'm not hiding it.
Okay,
That's another nat 1.
Maybe it is you.
That's another nat 1, bro. Okay, you know what? I'm still not using lucky. It's still happening. I'm taking this.
Rudy, you go over to where the first hole was that you were peeking through a minute ago, and just start taking things off the shelf and setting them on the floor.
Hey, what the? He's gonna, like, actively, like, be annoyed that you're looking at his stuff, even though the shop is there to sell said stuff. And he's gonna, like, wander over and then just be like, "What are you even looking at?" Like,
and he'll kind of, like, spread the clutter, and bam, right there. That's what I'm looking at. And he's, like, pointing at the hole that he was looking at originally, the first hole.
Has Lysander, would he notice that this hole is new, or is it something that has been there?
Rudy is pointing at one of the holes that you found earlier.
Okay, so, Lysander will kind of, like, look at the hole, and then he'll just say, it's an old building. They have holes. Look, this wasn't here when I noticed when I first moved in, which was several years ago. But regardless...
Yeah, and the hole in the bottom of my strongbox wasn't there several minutes ago, leading all the way to your build. That's not a little bit convenient?
Rudy, as you say this and you're continuing to take things off the shelf, you come to a pile of about 20 gold pieces that you did not notice before, sitting, like, just off to the side underneath this hole. And as you make that discovery, we are going to cut. As the sun continues to reach further into the sky, the sound of wood against stone marks an even tempo. And coming across the stone bridge that connects the main body of Maple Morrow to the castle across the river, marches of a group of about 11 wooden and metal beings. When these beings reach the southern bank of the river, they all halt in unison, and one figure with a small carved C in its shoulder steps forward. The following units dispatched to Old Town, CK 384 310 360 318 363. The following units dispatched to Down the River, CK 313 396 373 304 379. Your assignments will come to you via sending. And with that, 5 units split from the group and head off into Old Town, the western section of the city. And another group of 5 splits off and heads into Down the River, DTR, to the east. While marching, Jimmy, will you please describe your character for us?
I am CK373. I am a combat droid that is meant for security. And I have, like, it's kind of this mixture of steampunk, but also, like, supposed to be realistic features. You can see, like a key in the back that helps, like, wind myself up. There's, like, heat vents. I'm wearing these kind of, like, visors. And I have a little drone that flies around with me.
Brilliant. As you march, you receive a magical message stating, Elmonius, male dwarf, owner of OTR Forge. Complaint of intrusion and theft. No sooner has that message faded from you when you spot a huffy-looking dwarf standing in the road, tapping his foot impatiently against the dirty road. About time you got here.
Hello, sir. What is your problem?
I've got stuff missing from my forge. I've got tracks all over my ground, and waiting for you guys to get here to come look into it, because we're not supposed to touch anything like this ourselves anymore.
Are you sure you haven't misplaced your items?
Yes, I'm sure I haven't misplaced my items.
Can I roll an insight check on that?
Yeah, sure. Roll me an insight check.
That's 15 plus... Let's see, insight. I don't have this memorized quite yet. Plus 1. So 16.
You definitely get the feeling that he feels like he's telling the truth. He genuinely believes he would never misplace any of his things.
Affirmative. Let me investigate the building. Do I have permission to enter?
Yeah, absolutely. Go do what you gotta do. Find my stuff, please.
Confirming that you gave permission.
Yes.
I will enter now.
Good, thank you. And the dwarf leads you into his forge, which is a somewhat large circular structure that is open on one side to face the road. There's sand that has been scattered about to cover the floor so that if something hot were to drop, it would fall into something soft that's not going to catch fire. And throughout the sand, there are small circles of what seem to be about 3 inches in diameter imprinted throughout the sand. And there are small little tracks leading between them that almost look like someone might have stuck a stick into the sand and drug a line between each edge of these tracks that are imprinted.
I turn to the drone and I don't need to say this out loud, but I typically do for the benefit of the civilians around me. And I go, please follow those tracks. And I send my drone off to just follow the tracks and then let me know when it finds where the tracks sort of end. And I turn to the other CK units and I say, I will handle the investigation here. Please interview the blacksmith and other surrounding civilians.
You see that one of the CK units sort of jerks his head in an approximation of a nod and turns to the blacksmith and begins to say, please outline what is missing from your stores. And the other 3 CKs look sort of amongst themselves and say, it appears the situation here is handled. Moving on to next assignment. And they begin to march off.
Am I by myself now?
There's one CK unit still interviewing the blacksmith, but it's just you, that unit, and the Dwarven blacksmith.
Okay. I start looking around, and I'm going to make an investigation check to see if there's any other clues besides the drag marks right outside.
Cool. Roll me an investigation check.
Oh, that is so good for me. That's a 7.
Brilliant. You begin to sort of like do a circle around the perimeter of this space. The only thing that you were immediately able to find is there seemed to be some small scuff marks on one of the shelves where small things like rivets, buckles, things like that might be kept.
Okay, I kind of look around and then at those, and then as I notice, like, I'm not really getting anything here, I'm going to kind of tap the side of my glasses, and I'm going to switch over to hearing and seeing through the drone.
You switch over and you see at this point it is still like gently floating along following these tracks.
Okay. Do I see anything through the drone's eyes?
At this point it's just following the tracks. So you really just get a shot of the dirt.
Okay. I exit out to the blacksmith and I say, "Sir, did you see any small creatures or other unexpected things in your store?"
No, I came in this morning, stuff was missing. There were these weird prints in the sand. I didn't see anything. I don't sleep here. And the other CK unit downloads to you the interview that he just finished conducting. And it's basically a report of exclusively small but freshly forged hardware that has gone missing. So things that are still shining from the forge. And it would be those things like rivets and buckles, like what would be on that shelf that you were missing. You also get the information that Elmonis is the blacksmith that mostly serves DTR. So he forges typically things like plow heads or rakes or pitchforks or things like that for the farming community that still lives further out east past the settled part of town.
Am I getting the sense that this is like shiny bits and baubles, that the value of these things aren't necessarily high, but they are small and shiny?
Roll me an insight check.
That's going to be 8 plus 1 for 9.
It does sort of feel like these are not necessarily the most valuable things. It's more so like the principle that like all of my things are going missing.
Sir, what is the total net worth of the items missing? Please give best estimate.
Oh, God. Maybe like 8 bronze pieces, like maybe a silver piece.
Can I do like a quick, I don't know what this would be, but like a quick check to see if that's accurate from the list that I have downloaded?
Yeah, give me another insight check.
Okay. That's an 11.
It feels like that's relatively accurate.
Thank you for confirming this information. And then I'm going to tap the side, I'm going to like walk back into the store and I'm going to tap the side of my glasses to see any more updates from the drone. Is it still just flying around?
Yeah, at this point it's still following the tracks, but it seems like it's slowed down a little bit.
Okay. I'm going to check in with the other CK units, and then I'm going to see what the interviews with the surrounding shop owners are like.
Yeah, so as you check in with the other CKs, you get similar reports from other nearby shop owners of like small holes that have been carved into the walls, random little like tracks that seem to have appeared. And you do get one report from one CK unit that suggests switching into a light filtering mode.
I go back into the original shop and I hit the other side of my glasses to do a light filtering mode.
As you switch into this mode, you see that there is sort of like a blue glittering effect that seems to be across this shelf that had all of the rivets and the scuffs that you were looking at, or the missing rivets and the scuffs that you were looking at. And that glitter seems to follow down towards the weird imprints and tracks that you saw in the sand, and sort of follows those tracks that you set the drone to follow, and seems to fade away the further away that it gets.
Okay. Can I make an investigation check to identify what this glitter might be?
Yeah, roll me an investigation check.
Finally, a good roll. That'll be 16 plus 3 for 19. Wait, yeah, 16 plus 3 for 19.
It feels to you like this might be some sort of marking effect. And as you come to that conclusion, you hear the pitter-patter of little feet coming as someone approaches the forge. And Felicity, following Isla's suggestion, in you come to investigate the going-ons of the town.
Hello there, please identify yourself.
Felicity is going to stop and then go, Detective Andrews investigating the case, thank you. And then immediately ignore him and run over to Ammonius and go, Hi, Ammonius.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
I'm going to see this little girl trying to investigate, and I'm gonna just... I am sorry, this is an active crime scene. You must evacuate.
Yeah, you say that every time. And she pulls out her notebook and then goes, I'm guessing robbery this time again, right?
I'd say that every time.
You're not the first one I've run into. You won't be the last. And she kind of waves her hand dismissively before she looks up at Ammonius and, like, turns to Herky and goes, Herky, scout the area.
You see Herky, like, gets into, like, an attack pose and starts, like, sniffing along the ground.
Ammonius, you do not have to answer. You may do as you wish. And I'm going to look at the little girl. What information have you found?
She turns and kind of looks him up and down and goes, Let me finish talking to him. I'm sure he's distressed because robbery is a very serious felony.
This seems to not technically be a felony. The value of the property does not exceed 5 gold pieces needed for a felony. This is a misdemeanor.
It's a felony if you count all the other robberies that have been happening.
Other robberies?
Because I would presume that this is from Felicity's own investigations. This is not the first robbery like this that has happened.
Correct.
Yeah, she's like, no, this... Are you new to the Force or something?
I am 3 years since my creation, 2 years since my implementation in Maple Morrow.
Strange you don't know anything about the fact. This has been going on for a while. And she turns back to Ammonius again and kind of gives him a... What? Was anything actually stolen of value, or was it all just miscellaneous bits and bobs?
Bits and bobs, I guess, but that's not the point. The point is that things keep going missing.
Exactly, which makes it very serious. And she goes, Did you see anything in the night? Any strange figures, hear any noises? Did any neighbors ask if anyone was in the shop at night?
All of those questions will be answered for you on the release of the interview information. He has already answered those questions.
And I don't get why everybody thinks that I sleep here. And as he says that, Herky sort of does like this doing thing and points off towards the direction that the drone left in. And CK, you get a ping in your head indicating that the drone has finished following its trail.
I'm going to, I'll say, excuse me, and then I'm going to tap the side and look through the drone.
This drone has come to a stop, looking at a hole in a wall about 3 feet off the ground, about a block and a half away from you.
I'm going to say, I must go now. Please excuse me. If you have any more information, do not hesitate to tell one of the CK units. And then I'm gonna just go in the direction pretty much as the crow flies towards my drone.
Brilliant. Felicity, what are you gonna get up to?
Having heard Herky give like a little I found something, she's gonna, as the CK unit leaves, she's just gonna sigh and go, if I didn't have to wait for breakfast, I would have been here sooner. And kind of goes to Ammonius. And is this the first time Ammonius has been robbed?
No, it is not.
You'll see her flip back to a few pages before, and she goes, I know you are yada yada answered it. Do you know the approximate value of the items that were in there?
Like eight bronze pieces, maybe a silver piece.
Well, if we ever catch who's doing this, by this time you can escalate it to a felony. Your amount missing is equivalent to 5 gold pieces. And she writes it on a fresh page, tears off a list, and gives it to him. She's like, in case they need reference, since apparently they don't talk to each other.
he's gonna take this and like goes back into his forge, muttering about how like nothing gets done efficiently around here anymore.
And Felicity is gonna run on over to Herky and go, "New tracks, lead the way."
There's a little like squeak, and off he goes. We're gonna cut back over to Lysander's shop with Rudy and Lysander having just discovered this pile of gold.
Rudy is just gonna turn and raise an eyebrow.
This definitely wasn't here before, right? Would Lysander know?
This was not here before, no.
Lysander is going to like his jaw's kind of gonna drop a little bit, and he's gonna like reach out and like poke the pieces to make sure they're real.
Roll me an investigation check.
Okay. Wow, 18 plus 3 for 21.
As you poke these things, you are struck by the ominous feeling that these things might just be animate, because they haven't been here, so they clearly must have gotten here somehow.
Oh, like they would move?
Perhaps.
Oh, okay. Lysander is going to like pick one up and then put it down on the ground about 5 feet away and see if it does anything.
It does not.
Lysander will kind of just like, why aren't you moving? Move. Why aren't you moving? And like talk to the gold piece and see if that even does anything.
As you start saying this, you hear another knock at the door, and you turn to see a CK unit standing outside your front door.
He's gonna like pick up the gold piece and like look at Rudy and like shove it back in, and then just turn to the CK unit and be like, "Hi, how can I help you?"
Hello, I am CK Unit 373. I am investigating some robberies happening in the area. Has any merchandise gone missing?
Lysander will like look around the shop, and does he notice if anything's been stolen?
Roll me an investigation check.
Okay.
Or a perception check. I'll let you choose.
I'll do investigation. Damn. That is a 9.
You haven't really gotten the chance to do a real good look around.
I think he's just gonna be so kind of thrown off balance by the gold coins and what he suspects. And he's just gonna be like, nope, everything is good here. I am fine. Nice to see ya. You can leave.
May I investigate to ensure nothing was stolen?
Yeah, sure. And he's gonna look at Rudy and just be like, I don't know why this is here. Kind of like in a lower breath.
Rudy, this eyebrow has not gone down, and his arms are crossed.
Look, I swear.
Hello, who are you? I know this is Lysander, owner of this establishment. Who are you?
Oh, come on. 2 people who don't know who I am? In one day? I've been here for years. This is like my 2nd or 3rd year.
I have also been here for 2 years, but you probably don't know my number. And I cover up my number.
Well, you all look the same, so
that is
kind of can't blame me on that one. How many rabbit people do you meet? Oh, okay, that is. Whatever.
Lysander is gonna be like, Rudy, man, that is messed up. This is obviously CK373.
He is going to turn immediately. He's immediately turning to CK. I found the missing gold. Mine's in there too.
Hey!
Felicity, as this bickering starts picking up, you come skidding to a halt with Herky in front of the shop.
And Felicity is going to look the shop up and down and go, Lysander. And then march her way up the stairs and bang on the door with as much force as she can muster and immediately call out, "The jig is up, Lysander! I know you're in there!"
I lock the door and I say, please do not let her in, and please do not let him escape. and I turn on my light filter mode.
As you turn on this light filter mode, you follow this same track towards where the pile of gold was sitting, and you all turn to realize that this pile of gold has gone missing. And all of you, except for Jimmy, pick up on the faint sound of buzzing wings. And as you turn to sort of follow this sound, you see that all of these gold pieces have sprouted little stick-like golden legs and wings that seem like they are almost made out of gold dust. And as you spot these, I'm going to need everybody to roll me initiative.
Oh.
Why we're fighting flying?
And
Let's
that is where we are going to
go.
end today's session.
Oh my goodness! That's amazing.
Performance Check is an original Dungeons & Dragons actual play podcast. All characters, settings, and situations in this story are completely fictional. The cast of Performance Check consists of Michael Seliski as Felicity, Claudia Cromley as Lysander, Jimmy Lancaster as CK373, and Evan Marshall as Rudy. The game is DM'd by Ethan Mann.